And at the time, this shirt was pretty much the only thing that I wanted in the world. Hello, I'm John Bradley, and I bring you my top 5 favourite football shirts of all time. Right, what better place to start than this one? The Man United home shirt 02-03 and 03-04, when home shirts used to last for 2 seasons at a time. Remember that? It seems pretty unthinkable now, to be honest. What I like very much is order and symmetry and regularity. I've never been one for anything too flash or anything too daring or anything that kind of breaks those aesthetic rules too much. I like balance. And this, just from a design point of view, before we even talk about what memories are kind of contained in it and what I associate with it, just from a design point of view, it's pretty much perfect. I mean, look at the symmetry of that, the balance of it, these lovely little details down the side. It's probably the United shirt that I think stands the test of time the best as a piece of design. Before it, I was a little bit cold on a couple of the shirts. I loved them at the time, but looking back on them now, I just don't think they stand up as well as this. The one after this, they got a bit bolder with it. They had a kind of irregular white splodge at the top, and it had a central badge. I've never been a fan of a central badge because I think it just knocks that balance out. I love this. And this 02-03 was the season that I first started going. I first started going to matches on a regular basis. So this would have been the shirt that I first saw United playing live. Number 2, 82-84, Barca, home. I should declare at this stage that I'm completely colourblind, so a lot of my choices on this matter might be a little bit clouded by that. But the Barcelona colour combination has always just sang to me. There's just something that's so beautiful and so regal almost, and so romantic about it. And this, of course, this shirt I picked in particular out of all of them because it was the Maradona era at Barca. United played Barca across 2 legs in that 84 season, and managed to turn it round at Old Trafford and beat him at Old Trafford. And this is the shirt that Maradona would have worn for Barcelona. Look at the regularity of the pattern. Barca have only introduced shirt sponsors relatively recently. I think they did the UNICEF one in 2010 or something, but there's just something about seeing it just without that. Very stylish, just beautiful. Just what more needs to be said about it? It's a beautiful piece of clothing, first and foremost. This was a very obvious choice for me. This was the first one that really came to me, and I picked this one because I love it aesthetically, of course, but this was the first football shirt I ever owned. This was the first one that was ever bought for me, and thinking back to it now, I bought it from the Baptist Church in Wythenshawe Saturday morning, good as new. My gran bought it for me for probably like 50p or something, which says to me that it wasn't that current season strip when I bought it. It was probably the season after, but it was the first shirt I ever had, and I absolutely cherished it. It's just really beautifully designed, all these little details. When I think about this shirt, I always picture it, and I picture it a lot because of course there's so many iconic United moments associated with it, not least this man doing something regrettable in the stand once upon a time, but I always forget when I picture it about this blue detail here. I think that's what turns a good kit into a great kit. There's tiny little, special little design details that don't really make any kind of practical sense, but they're just in there to turn it into a thing of beauty. I've always been a fan of United's black kits. I just think there's something really kind of stark and really stylish and really kind of intimidating about them when they're done right. And I think that is as good as it gets. Beautiful. The '98 World Cup was the first World Cup that I was just aware of as being a national celebration, something that took over the whole country, and I was right in the middle of that. I was nearly 10 years old, and at the time this shirt was pretty much the only thing that I wanted in the world. I think it's the same if you're a little kid and you don't have a lot of money to throw around, your family just don't have a great deal of money to spend on things like this, you really cover items of clothing like this. And I used to look at it in magazines, and I used to look at it on telly, and I used to draw it as well, and just thinking if only I could get my hands on that. We couldn't quite afford it. Actually, I bought a really moody, snide knockoff version of the white home kit in Turkey on holiday, and it had no Umbro on it. It was just a badge that was just sewn on, and it had these cursory kind of orange and blue stripes down the side. And the fact that I wore it to school shows me that I think I had a bit more bottle back then than I give myself credit for, because it just wasn't a good copy. But it was the closest I could get. And then, you know, that thought leaves you, and then it's only when you think about it, you see shops like this, and you can actually get to hold it in your hand again, and you realise just how special it is. I never thought I'd get to hold one, even, let alone you have the chance of buying one, just because you think it's out of circulation and it's gone and it's just consigned to history. But I must say, this flag detail on here is a bit more prominent and a bit bolder than I remember it being. I think I remember it being a little bit more subtle than this, and I like it, but it's just funny how you kind of memory plays tricks. But this was, yeah, 98. This was, if I could have had anything in the world, this would have been pretty much up there, and now I'm holding it. My last choice. You pick different shirts for different reasons. Sometimes you pick them because of memories that you associate them with. Sometimes you pick them from a purely design point of view. This one I picked, Inter Milan 98-99 home, I picked because it's associated with one player in my mind. They had a great team, Simeone and lots of very talented players like that, but in my mind, there was only one man who was head and shoulders above pretty much every other player in the world at that stage. I mean, and this is the shirt that I associate him with. It's so weird that the iconic Brazil shirts, Real came after, Barca before. I think because this was at that tipping point where I first started to become aware of footballing phenomenons like Ronaldo, that this is the shirt that I always picture him in when I think about him. And yeah, this is the shirt that I associate with my first favourite player who didn't play for United. And I think that shows that you're moving into a kind of mature footballing headspace. And it's not just about blind loyalty to one team. You can see football as a game. You can appreciate things on a purely sporting and footballing level. And Ronaldo, the original Ronaldo, was just the biggest thing in the world at that time and meant a lot to me. And he was my hero. And I picture him in this.